Hello knitters, this video will help you to knit a raglan sweater from neck down. It is very detailed and I had to break it into three parts. The raglan part, the body part and a sleeve part. So let's go and knit the raglan part. We will cast on 64 stitches and we will actually work in several steps, and our first step is to knit the collar, and then we will start adding stitches for sleeves and front and back. And if you forgot how to cast on or bind off or anything like that, I will provide a link to my playlist with several videos that would go and refresh your memory. So cast on 64 stitches, and we are actually knitting from top, from neck area to the bottom. I have casted on 64 stitches and now we will knit entire row. And as you see, I am working on the long needles, on the regular straight long needles. And later on, after I knit this one row, I will transfer stitches to my double pointed needles. And if you prefer working on circular needles, you will transfer your stitches to circular needles, okay? So we will knit entire row. This yarn is a little stretchy, so it's going to be the first couple of rows are gonna be a little bit more difficult to put my needles through, because the way I cast it on, it was kind of a little tighter than I would expect with a regular yarn. With a regular twisted yarn, I will actually show you what I mean. You see, this this yarn is kind of woven in a circular you know, circular way, and you see how it stretches. So that's that kind of yarn. There are other yarns that if you go and take the ones that are twisted, actually they look twisted, they don't stretch like that. So I have transferred my stitches to double pointed needles, and I am making sure that it's not twisted in these corners right in here. And also I want to explain why I have it transferred like this, where I have 26 inches here, 6 inches here, 26 inches here, and 6 inches here. These stitches are going to be increased and they will be sleeves, and these stitches are gonna be increased and they will be front and back. Okay, so now I need to turn my needles up and start knitting. Now make sure that it's not twisted, so this has to be this way. Now my yarn has to be back there. Okay, and we will move our knits to the tips and we will start knitting. So I will twist this cast on first stitch a few times and then knit this. Okay, come on, let's go here and knit these 2 stitches together. Okay. Oops, I need to be using actually different needle. I'm supposed to be knitting with a different needle, my 5th needle. Okay, there we go. And so, okay, so let's go and knit 3 more rows. If you want your collar to be a little taller, you can actually knit more than 3 rows, but I will knit 3 rows. Okay, so you just knit all around 3 more rows. That will be total with this first row, total 4 rows. Now you also can go and use a counter. You will probably, it will be probably very good to use counter with knitting sweater, because you can lose count of your rows. And I will show you how to use the counter. I will have to fetch it, but let me just go and do 1 more needle here. Okay, and you go and keep knitting until the end of the row, and I will show you how to use that counter and how to start a new row. Okay, so I finished my last stitch and of my 2nd row, and I will just continue knitting a 3rd row. But I also promised that I'm gonna show you how to use the counter. So I knitted already 2 rows. So you just I have this counter that is, you know, pretty easy to use. You just click for each row, you click once. So I had 2 rows, so I click twice. Right now, when I finish knitting my 3rd row, I will click my 3rd row. Okay, so I always click when I'm finished with the row, and if I put my sweater down and or anything that I'm knitting and then I want to knit later on, and I don't remember the rows, how many rows I had where I finished, I look at my counter. And I'm like, okay, I finished my 3rd row, so now I have to start knitting my 4th row. So always finish your last row before you step away from your knitting, and you know, don't forget to click your last knitted row, and then you're you know, ready to go to start your project a day later, 2 days later, and a few hours later, whenever. Okay, so, and this is being very twisty. Okay, let me go and do it this way, and just knit, right? And people that knit the English way, English style, you, again, I will show you, it's exactly the same, and I have also a video for that you just push the needle there and you wrap the yarn around. I do the same thing, except that I don't hold yarn in my right hand. I left the working yarn in my left hand, with on my wrapped around my finger on the left hand. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing, except my way is a little faster because I don't have to do that extra motion. Okay, So that's all. So this is my third row, and when I finish my fourth row, I will show you what I will add a little accent to the collar, where I will knit, I will purl one row, and this is in my way here and probably in your way too. I finished my fourth row, and actually I had to transfer my knit to 8-inch long double pointed needles because my 10-inch DPNs were too long, so it's gonna be easier to knit now these short. And when I need to, I will transfer them to my longer ones back when I have many more stitches. Anyway, so now I just wanted to show you that I knitted 4 rows, okay? And our 5th row is going to be purl. So we move the yarn forward, right? And we make a purl stitch and a purl stitch and a purl, entire row, okay? And people who knit English style, again, you need to put yarn in the front. Okay, I got it here, and you wrap it around this way. Yep. Okay, you go for the needle in the front, and you wrap it, and then you push back. Okay, so that's it. And so do entire row of purling, and you will have this little wavy accent there around the collar. And then we will do one more row of knit, and then we will start adding stitches to increase for our sleeves and front and back. Okay, I finished my 5th row where I purled entire row, and so we go and click that it's our 5th row is finished. And now before we start increasing, we will knit, not purl, knit entire row. So knit, knit, knit. So I'm finished with my 6th row, knitted 6th row. We will click, okay, and we will start knitting, increasing. But also I wanted to mention that if you are working on circular needles, you would have markers between these stitches. So you would have 26 stitches here, marker, 6 stitches, marker, 26 stitches, marker, and 6 stitches and marker. Okay, so you would do that in this last knitted row, and then you would start increasing because you need to mark your position. We will always knit this stitch before the marker, and you know, on my needles last stitch and first stitch, and we will do all the increases right before those 2 stitches. So if you have a marker and you have a circular needles, you will need these 2 stitches, but you will increase right here. Okay, and I think at some point when I have enough stitches knitted, I will show you one row how I am doing it. So if you're watching the video, you might have to later on, all the people that are knitting on circular needles, you will need to go and jump onto the onto the area, you know, of this video where I'm showing how to increase on circular needles. Anyway, so we will knit this stitch because this is my corner, so I will always knit first stitch, and we will increase after first knitted stitch, but we need to increase to the left, and we need to pick this yarn right here, okay, between these stitches, the yarn that is connecting this stitch and this stitch. I actually this stitch and this stitch, okay? So we need to knit to the left. Let me see, that goes to the right, this one goes to the left. You see how it's going this way? It's going to go to the left. We're going to knit through the back loop where you insert your needle. I can't do it, hello. One of these days. Okay, there. Okay, through the back loop, and you just knit it through the back loop, and you see how it's going, how it's slanting upwards to the left. That's our left slanted increase between the stitches from previous row. Okay, now we will knit all the stitches on this needle until this last stitch. We will not knit this last stitch, so knit all the way there. So knit, knit, knit. So I knitted to my last stitch, and like I said, we will always increase between this and this stitch. This we would have a marker on a circular needles, so we would need these two stitches, right? But we need to increase in before this and after this stitch. Okay, so now we will increase with the right slanted stitch, and right slanted stitch is that we go from the back, we pick up that yarn in between these two stitches from previous row, we pick it up from the back. Okay, I will show it one more time because this needle was in the way. So we will pick it from the back, and then let me go and just, okay, I always stretch it forward, hold this stitch with my thumb so it doesn't escape, and then I am able to put my needle in and knit the stitch. Okay, so you will, if you're working in English style, you might have to find a different way how to grab that stitch. And now you can see that actually that stitch that we are making is slanted upwards to the right. Okay, that's what we want. And knit a regular way. Okay, now we will knit the first stitch again and increase after the first stitch, and again we will increase left. So on each needle you will increase after first stitch to the left, and you will increase after before last stitch on that needle to the right. Okay, so we need to increase to the left. So let me see, where is our stitch? Is right here. This is our stitch. Now this would go to the right, so we need to go to the left. You need to go and insert the needle under this yarn from the front. Okay, and you can see already it's going upward that way, and then you just go and grab that yarn through the back loop. Okay, through the back loop, and you knit it, and you knit 4 stitches here, 4 stitches, and now this is our last stitch, and in front of it we will increase to go to the right this way. Okay, so I just again make sure that I can get in there with my, let me go and move this out of the way, make sure that I can get in there with my needle, and I knit in a regular way, you know, from this. Okay, and there we go, we are going right, it's slanted to the right, and we knit last stitch. Okay, and again now we will work on this needle, and again this first stitch has to be left slanted, last stitch has to be right slanted. Okay, left slanted, right slanted. So we will knit first stitch, and if we do left slanted, we go from the front, left slanted, you insert needle under that yarn between the stitches from the front, and then you knit 24 stitches on this. This is going to be either back or front. Okay, now I am here at the end, and like I said, this has to be left slanted, this has to be right slanted, so we will go from back. Right slanted, we have to go from back. Okay, let me move this a little bit down so you can see better. Okay, so from the back, and I always pull this over so I can get in there and grab that yarn and make a stitch. Okay, good, and we knit the last stitch, and this is our last needle where we need to increase. And we have to knit first stitch, and we increase left, so we go from the front and through the, we will knit through the back loop. Okay, good, and now we knit 4 stitches, and we go from back, we grab the yarn from back to do the right slanted stitch, and we knit it from the front. Okay, and we have that slant going to the right, and knit last stitch. Okay, and we are finished with all needles that we were supposed to increase. So in each needle we increased by 2 stitches. We increased on the right and left. Again, we increased here and here. We increased here and here, and we increased here and here, and so we increased by 8 stitches. The next row we will knit entire row, no increases. Okay, let's go and tell ourselves that we just did 7th row. Okay, it's very important that you don't forget to mark your rows. So I will knit entire row, no increases. This is our 8th row, and no increases, and just knit, knit, knit entire row. I am finished with my 8th row, and our 9th row is going to be increasing again. So as you see, we knitted 4 rows here. 5th row was the purl. Then we knitted one more row, that was our 6th row, and increased in 7th. Then we knitted one row, which is 8th. So every odd number, every odd row, we will increase. And this is our 9th row. And again, we will do the same thing like what we did in 7th row. We will knit the first stitch and increase after it. And this has to be left slanted. And we go from the front, okay, and we knit that stitch. Just push it in there and knit it through the back loop. And now we knit all these stitches, and I will knit very fast. I don't think you really need, you don't need me to show you how to do the knit stitch. I don't want to waste too much time of the video. It's gonna be a really long video, so I might even cut it out, I don't know. Okay. We are, and we're here, and then we increase to the right, make one to the right before the last stitch on this needle, or before the marker. You would have marker here, right? And we go, if we want to go right slanted, we need to grab the yarn from the back, okay, and then pull this yarn forward and knit it from front, not through the back, and then knit the last stitch on the needle if you're using double pointed needles, okay. And again the same thing, again you knit first stitch. This is here on the right, you do left slanted on the right of this needle, you do left slanted, and we need to go from front. I always forget how I'm supposed to go, okay, and through the back loop, okay, so we can see that left slant. And then we knit 6 stitches, and then we increase before the last stitch on this needle, or before the last stitch between the marker, okay. And we need to go from back and knit, pick up the yarn from the back and knit from the front, through the front regular way, and then knit the last stitch between markers or on the needle. Now do this again, knit first stitch, left slanted, so you pick up yarn from front, knit through the back loop, knit all the stitches to the last stitch on this needle, or to the last stitch before the next marker. Okay, I will knit fast. I don't need to show you how to do a knit stitch anymore. Okay, almost there. Almost there. Okay, and because we're on the left side of the needle, or before the next marker, we will pick the yarn through the back, okay, and knit the stitch from the front to make that right slanted pattern, and knit last stitch. And this is our last needle in the 9th row. Again, we knit the first stitch on the needle, or first stitch after the marker on circular needles. Pick the yarn from the front to make left slanted stitch, okay. Knit 6 stitches because we increased by 2. Okay, we have last stitch in here. We pick from back to make the right slanted stitch, and we knit it from the front, not through back loop, from front, and we knit the last stitch. Okay, and this is we finished our 9th row, and we're ready to knit 10th row. Okay, so I have finished my 10th row where I knitted entire row, and I am ready to do my 11th row, and again do everything the same way like in 7th and 9th row. That means knit first stitch, increase after knitting first stitch, knit all these stitches, to the last stitch, increase right slanted. Over here we increase left slanted. Okay, over here increase left slanted, and then knit the last stitch. And again on this, for the sleeve, on a sleeve area, again knit first stitch, increase left slanted right after that stitch, knit these stitches to the last stitch, increase before the last stitch, right slanted, knit the last stitch, and again repeat the same thing on this one. Okay, knit first stitch, increase left slanted, knit all these stitches to the last stitch, increase right slanted, knit the last stitch, and do the last increase, 4th increase on this needle. Again, knit first stitch, left slanted increase, knit these stitches regular way, increase before the last stitch to the right slanted increase, and knit this, and then repeat again the row, just knitted row. And so this is how you should continue knitting until you have desired length from the neck area to your, because this is going to be like this is going to be the top. Okay, this is going to be the top, and you will want to measure from here to your armpit area straight down. Okay, so I'm going to continue knitting like this, and I have to actually stop knitting because it's getting dark. I don't have a proper lighting. So I will see you when I have a certain amount of stitches, and I will tell you how many times I have done it. So we repeated increase in one row and knit another row. So let's say the A row would be the increase row, and then B row would be just knit all around without increasing. So I would go and repeat A and B rows several times. So far we have done it 2 times. Okay, hello again, a couple days later, and I am starting to videotape a little bit again. Just wanted to go and show you how much I have done so far. This is about 42, this is exactly 42 rows altogether, and as you see, I had to put my sweater on several double pointed needles. I had these short ones. These are I think 8-inch, and these are 10-inch needles, and I always knit. Here I have 4 as you see, and I knit with my 5th one, and here I have also 4 and I knit with 5th one as well. And actually right now I will be putting my knit on these circular needles that I started before, and show you where the markers should be, which, like I said before, they should be in these corners right here. In this corner, then in this corner right here, okay, and on in there. It's just to show you how you should go and have it set up on your circular needles. If I said double pointed needles, forgive me. Sometimes I make mistakes, I think too fast. So I just will start moving the stitches, sliding them on circular needles. Okay. Just like you would go and push them from this needle to this needle. And when I get to my first corner right here, I will put a marker, because this is not our corner, okay? This is like an extension. Imagine this would be one really long needle, but I needed two because my stitches would be slipping, okay? So I will show you how to put those markers in between those corners, okay? Okay, here we are in first corner. Okay, I put my marker in and I continue moving those stitches on my circular needles. Also, you could have done that, you know, a long time ago, you know, when you started over here, if you have short, very short circular needles. I really like double pointed needles better, but maybe I'll get used to working with these. Okay, here we are again in the corner, and we take our marker and put it there. And when I'm finished, I will show you how to knit with circular needles, moving those markers. Okay. Okay, here I am. I have transferred all my stitches on circular needles, and as you know, this is our beginning, because this is our tail, and I am starting to knit 43rd row. So we need to put our marker here, although we already know that this is our area, but so we do not get confused when we knit that first stitch, right? So it's better to have that marker right there so we know which stitch is what. So we knit first stitch, and now we knit left. Okay, left stitch, left, make one left, and so we knit one, and it's left slanted, and now we will knit all the way until the next marker. Okay, and here I am again in the finish with my first section, because this all around has 4 sections. So the first section is finished, and we need to do increase. So it's going to be right slanted increase, so we need to pick the yarn from the back and pull this yarn a little bit, hold it with your thumb so you can get in there and knit the stitch. Okay, and then knit the last and move the marker. Okay, and this is what I don't like, when I have to push it onto the needle. That's what I don't like, but I'm dealing with it. And okay, so now I knitted one and I have to increase, almost forgot to increase. So this is gonna be left slanted, so we pick the yarn from the front and knit it. Okay. okay, and continue knitting all the way to the last stitch before next marker. And this is our sleeve. Also, I wanted to tell you that I already measured from the neck area here, from here to here, and I have about 6.5 inches. So I still have several more rows to do, and I want to reach about 8.5 probably inches. And when I reach that, I will start working on sleeves and front back, okay, and body area. Okay, so here we are. No, not yet. Two more stitches. 1, 2. Okay, and we are ready to do the right slant, so from the back. Okay. Okay, here we go, and knit the stitch regular way, not through the back loop. And now we go knit the last stitch and move the marker and knit next stitch. And this is gonna be left slanted, so we pick it up from front and knit it through the back loop. Okay, and so you need to do several more increases like this, and when you are finished, then I will go and show you. I will tell you how many more increases approximately you should do. And when we're finished, I will show you how to connect sleeves and how to distinguish sleeves and basically the body area, body part. Okay. So as you see, my knit measures 7 inches now, and I need to reach about 8 for size small. And hopefully it's going to be also size small across. If it's going to be a little wider than I really anticipated, then for you people who like size small, you would need to do less stitches here around the neck. Okay, so instead of starting on, let's say, 64 stitches, you would start on 60. I have finished my 48th row, and this measures almost 8 inches, and I'm kind of afraid that it's going to be very tight in underarm, so I will knit at least 4 more rows, maybe even 6 more rows, but I will not increase anymore. Okay, so I just, instead of increasing in my 49th row, I will just knit all stitches, same amount, same number of stitches all around, from beginning to the end, and I will do that 4, maybe 6 times. Okay, probably 4 times. Now I also finished my graph over here. This is the row where I increased to 68 stitches for the front and 48 stitches for sleeve, and again 68 stitches for back and 48 for sleeve, which is taking us to total stitches 232 stitches all around. Okay, and I think that 232 stitches is starting to be a little bit too wide around the chest maybe, so I decided to knit just same amount of number stitches all around for 4 more rows. Okay, and maybe 6 more rows. So this is what we need to do. We will knit 4 more. Oops, I forgot to put my marker here. Here is my marker. Okay, and let's just knit 4 more rows and measure. And when I measure and I have about 8, if I have 8.5 inches, then I will stop and I will show you how to deal with sleeves and back and front connecting together. I have knitted 4 more rows without increasing, just like I said, and I have decided that I will knit with my blue color now, because I am at the end of my second skein with the gray yarn, and I don't have any more, so I have to continue with my blue color. Also, I do have 52 rows altogether, just to remind you that 48 plus 4 is 52 rows. Okay, so let's go and knit now 2 more rows with blue yarn. Or if you are going to be knitting just with one color, then you just do it with the yarn that you have. Okay. So I just will knit 2 more rows all around. I am finished with my 2 rows with my different color, and actually I can go and cut this off because I don't need that anymore. Let's leave a tail a little. We will weave it in later on. And I am ready to connect back and front together and make sleeves separate. So if you look at this sweater, this is the sleeve area which I just finished knitting. Okay, and my front or back, whichever it is next, and then I have sleeve again. So, but if I want to connect front and back together, I have to first start knitting this front. Let's say this is front, okay? So right after you finish knitting 2 rows and you get to your starting point, go and knit to the next marker.